So the video about completely restoring the underside of the E46, installing the 6-speed in the M3 rear end was supposed to be done tonight, but I was just doing the last kind of finishing touches. I was putting the slave cylinder back in and trying to bleed it, and I exploded it. I pressed the clutch pedal down and then I was like... So yeah, with that being said, I've been trying to post on here at least every 10 days. It's been 12. So here's a video about a car that I have that basically made me get this car and even want an E46 in general, because I had to get something cheap while the engine seized and it was being fixed and I was getting scammed out of all of my money. And yeah, they scammed me out of 3 years of my life. So please enjoy this story and let me know what you guys think about it. So first things first, when I got this car, it had around 50,000 miles and it's at 136 now. So I've done almost 100K miles in this car, and I was one of the typical kid who has a BMW, doesn't maintenance it, and then gets mad when it breaks. So during the end of this car's first life, I was beating on it a lot. Oh, shit. Having a lot of fun with it, but it was acting up a ton. And where I was living, there was a really nice canyon to go drive in. So almost every single day I would take the car out in the canyon. But long story short, I was driving super calm. And then the car shut off all of a sudden and the engine had seized. So there was a shop in town that told me they could rebuild it, but at the time I didn't know as much as I do now about what was going on. So one, I wanted a second opinion, and then there was another shop an hour and a half away that I had gotten like 35 recommendations for when I was looking and talking to people on Facebook and all that. So I rented a U-Haul and trailered the car down there, and he told me the same thing. But he was basically like, the engine needs rebuilt, but it'll take us about 6 weeks. And so I was like, perfect, go for it. So in my opinion, this car doesn't look too completely horrible, but as one of those, as you get closer, the worse it gets. So here we go. The headlights have sun damage. The bumper doesn't sit in right. No vents on the front. And a lot of this was just from me being stupid and clapping the car out. But the one that I'm most sad about is all this sun damage on the wrap and the headlights and everything, because the reason that that's there is from the car sitting at this guy's place forever. This taillight doesn't sit in right. This one is just off, doesn't turn on. Window regulator went out just there, and then these side skirts don't sit on at all. And none of this stuff is really that bad. I mean, rewrapping the whole car will be the biggest pain about it all, but maybe when I do all this, I can do one of those like fixing everything wrong with my car videos. So but the biggest thing I wanted to start with on this car is finally being able to rip everything out of here and clean it out. Because this dirt in here is not too bad. But this has been sitting in here for so long. And there's a couple other things that I found in here after I picked it up, which is a little concerning. Which is mouse, home, and every little thing I could find in this car being chewed up. Which tells me there was at least more than a 10% chance that there's been creatures living in this car this whole time. And now that I'm just getting comfortable enough to where I feel like this car can make it across town without dying on me, I think it's a good time to make it feel safe to sit in. Because it also feels like there could be a little bit of mold. It's like mildew smell coming out of the vents. So I want to do a really good detail, take the seats out, and I'll explain the rest of kind of how this went. So kind of short story long, the way that this went was I took it to the shop, gave it to him for 6 weeks, and then past that, it was just kind of like every 2 weeks, I'd be like, hey, how's it coming? And they'd give me, oh, we're working on it. Something came up. Kind of became every month that I was reaching out and then not really hearing back. And I somehow made it all the way to where they had the car for 2 years. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to email them again. Because for some reason I was okay with them holding on to the car and not having it back and whatever they could have been doing. So I basically just asked any updates, and they were like, good news, you can come pick up the car in a week or whatever. So I went down and I picked up the car, drove it back home. Only a couple small things here and there, like it's saying that it was low on coolant, low on oil. So I was a little sketched out. And then not even a month later, the car starts having crazy misfires. Anytime I'd hit it, it would have like audible misfires. And then I look in the engine, and every single one of the spark plug holes are like full of oil. So I messaged him back, and he's like, okay, I'll take it back and replace the valve cover gasket, because that's probably what it is. So we did that. I was happy that he was able to honor that and be like, okay, we messed up, we'll fix it. And then I get it back again, same issue, no change. Always misfiring and everything. And so he's like, you know what, bring it down, we'll check it out. My fifth mistake. They had it again for, I stopped keeping track. I feel like the more that I looked into it, the more pissed off it would make me. And I'm like, there's nothing I really can do right here. Like, I have to at least wait and see what he's going to do, because legally I can't just sue this guy and be like, you took too long, because they'd say, oh, well, he is actually doing what he's saying. Anyways, about another year passed, and I finally heard back, and he said, yeah, it looks like whether it was your fault or my fault, it seems like the head has lifted. And so I was like, so I waited, as you guessed, another couple months to where he finally said he got another engine. There's so many excuses in between, but it's like, I got another engine. We had to move shops 4 times. And then the engine that I got was bad, so I sent that back. And then I bought another car and I took the engine out of it, and the engine wasn't good. Just crazy, like, excuses on excuses. So this time, I finally got the car back. And the crazy part about it was I almost wasn't going to get the car back moving at all. I got a call, and he goes, hey, we got the engine in the car. The engine's running perfectly, but there might be a transmission issue because the car won't go into drive. And so I was like, that doesn't really make much sense, because when I dropped the car off, it had no transmission issues. And his deal was basically trying to be like, we did our part, but now something else is broken, so that's on you. And then he calls me back 30 minutes later, and he's like, hey, we forgot to bolt up the flange back onto the transmission, so that's why it wasn't moving. And he's like, luckily I've got another one, so I'll replace that for free. And I was like, yeah. Once he finally got it running, he told me the engine is still running perfectly, but he couldn't get it to, like, anytime he'd put it into gear, it would still die. And so he thought the cat was clogged, and it was going to cost me extra to have him replace the cat or figure out basically what it was. He told me he replaced every single sensor in the engine. And so I was like, screw it. It's a perfect opportunity to put on catless downpipes. It'll just be another fun little thing. Finally, I'm getting my car back. So I get it back, and I replace the downpipe with a catless. Same issue. It wasn't working. So I bring it in. Basically, it turned out that it had a bad MAF sensor. Now, my point here is I just wanted to explain the story. One, to let everyone on here know about this car, the story about it. I'm probably going to be making more videos with it, because I want to go through and fix all the little things with it, rewrap it, and I don't know. I don't want to put more money into it, but I figure we might as well make it nice again. My goal with this car is to put a Hellcat engine in it eventually, but we got to get more views for all that. The other big reason I wanted to make this video is I just wanted to get your guys' opinions on it, and comment if you've had a similar experience, or if you guys think that I'm crazy for thinking that I 100% got scammed. I paid him, the first time I got the car back, I paid him $7,500. And luckily for the rest of the stuff, he warrantied it, but he also took 3 entire years to get this project done. So I'm like, this is 3 years out of my life where I would have rather paid BMW 10 grand to rebuild it and have had the car back, you know? At the time, I was using my car for work too, so it really kind of put me in a bad position. So yeah, let me know. Do you guys have a similar experience, or do you think I'm overreacting? Am I crazy? Did I get scammed, or did I get my car back perfectly running? I don't know. See you on the next video.